good morning, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is your Wednesday wrap-up. I'm here with my man, Herb, and Rob. Mr. U is out on assignment today. How you doing, guys?
Great. Happy Wednesday, I guess, right? I almost forgot what day it was.
Did you look out the window, though? What's out the window?
Right? I mean, it is the early morning show, I guess. He's trying to see if he can see the end of the week. He's like, is that Friday over there somewhere?
Hey, happy Wednesday, guys.
No, I caught a prowler around our neighborhood the other day. So I'm looking to make sure, we got some interesting
But they're Wednesday prowlers, so if he's out there, you're like, it's Wednesday. It's amazing. All right, so, obviously this week in review, we got Justin Jefferson signing for a monster contract, 4-year, $140 million, 110 guaranteed, and 88.7 due at signing. So he doesn't have to step on the field. He gets 88 million, and kind of a weird perspective thing. That is more than the entire receiving core of the Green Bay Packers.
Talk about injury protection right there,
yes. Right? Yeah. It's nice to have young wide receivers on rookie deals and stuff like that all over the place versus having one superstar, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, so now the question really starts to come into who's throwing him the ball, right? You got Sam Darnold, who likely is going to get the start week 1, right? But you got J.J. McCarthy. We don't really know what he is yet, right? Like, we saw him in Michigan. He wins national title. But he wasn't asked to do a lot. Like, that was a run-heavy offense. And he had to do something with the ball once or twice a game. It had to be special once or twice, right? He threw the ball a little more than that, obviously. But is that going to be enough to keep Justin Jefferson happy, or is he just happy with getting a monster payday?
I'm going to say monster payday. Because,
I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah, it seems like that's the first step. Like, you can't – man, this is what's going to happen. These guys will sign these monster – because, look, I guess backing up, he wanted Kirk Cousins to stay, and he wanted a more stable quarterback situation. He didn't get that. He signs a monster deal. I don't want to hear in 2 years, like, if this doesn't work out, that he's unhappy, because you knew what you were getting into. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you marry the crazy girl and she's still crazy after you're married, like, you knew this, okay? Like, this is what you're getting into.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with you on that. I mean, in a sense, if you're taking the money, knowing what kind of quarterback situation you're going into, obviously the money was more important than trying to get on a team with a top quarterback, or forcing some kind of trade or anything like that, where you can go and play for a ring or have better opportunity. I think he's, happy with the fact that he's getting paid and he's secured that I'm going to be a number one kind of, you're going to be looking at me. Now you just got to stay on the field and stay healthy. That's his only job.
Well, of course, this is his first big contract, right?
Right.
So, I mean, when you're in the league, this is kind of the arc that I look at guys.
Oh, okay. I assume what he's about to say is them getting paid first is always a good thing. Okay. Which is what I would definitely agree with.
I thought today was going to be a good day.
My favorite part is both of us were like, it's
ringer ever, right? So had brought you in, shut it down, see y'all next week. To be continued. But yeah, no, so the arc for players in the NFL, really, right? You're on your rookie deal. It's probably your best chance to win, right? Because people aren't getting paid, whatever. So then you get your first shot at a big contract. You take that, right? NFL careers are short. You get that generational money as soon as you can, right? Now, are you the most highest paid guy ever? I mean, not everybody's a Justin Jefferson, right? But you get that big payday when you can. And then the next one, right? You've locked up the big money. Now, do you take a little less and go get hardware? Yeah. I mean, for me, yes. Like, I want to win rings. Like, that's a thing. So I don't really like the Diggs path, where he doesn't necessarily care if he's getting championships. As long as he's getting his touches and his stats, he seems to be fine. Championships don't seem to matter to that dude, because when you see his attitude, it's we won, but I didn't get my touches, I'm mad. Or we lost, but I got 8 touches and 110 yards and a touchdown. I'm happy. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around that type of play because, again, I don't know. Winning is kind of why we play, I think.
It should be at least. Or I'm thinking like maybe Diggs has himself on his own fantasy football team.
Yes.
I mean,
totally fair.
You know, most of these guys do, right? I mean, all these dudes are playing fantasy, and they probably do have themselves selected because they're not allowed to gamble, right? So you can't bet on themselves.
But I think the arc that you just laid out is actually very fair. You do want to get paid in this sport, and he's given a long enough deal to say, "Look, I'm sitting here, I'm getting paid, but I'm also giving you some time to figure it out." So we're in this exact same spot 4 years from now or 3 years from now, and we're thinking about the next extension. Then probably gone. But look, I'm here, and I mean, what better weapon? I mean, they have some good weapons on offense, so you're hoping they'll figure it out.
Well, that defense isn't bad.
Yeah.
That defense really came on as the year went, right? Because I mean, they were finding ways to win games with a rotating cast of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like that it was a bad team. They just had no continuity at the most important position on the field.
Right.
So now the question becomes, obviously this year it's the contract year. It's going to be a combination of Darnold and JJ, I would imagine. So I can't imagine that he's thinking they're going to do a lot this year, right? They're going to try and be competitive, but you have a Green Bay team coming on. The Bears are just a wild card. You have no idea what they're going to be. And then the Lions are going to be good, right? So it's not like you're the favored in your division. So I would imagine if you're Jefferson, you're coming into this knowing that, hey, this is probably not going to be that winning season, but we got a rookie. Let's see where this goes. Like I could see signing this contract with thoughts that, hey, he did win a national title. He's been in big games. Maybe we haven't seen everything we could have seen from him.
Right.
But we've seen that he can win.
Yeah.
Now they need a different, they need somebody that wants to call running plays sometimes.
I don't know what it is with that. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, do you think maybe part of it too is, I mean, the amount of money that was thrown at him to make him the number one, pretty much also the number one non-quarterback of all time, being paid. Do you think part of the appeal to that also is the fact that maybe no other team would have invested that much in him?
Oh no, someone would have picked him up.
You think somebody?
Yeah,
but
he was
that dollar amount.
Probably he was just still a year out. So even if he didn't come to terms, right, and someone else were to pick him up, you have this entire season where you're going to be the guy, right? So the odds of you getting hurt goes way up because you're going to get doubled all the time. The ball's still coming to you.
True.
So, I mean, if I were in that scenario, we just drafted a rookie. I can get a big payday. I know the system. I know what I'm looking at. I'm still the clear-cut number one, so I'm going to get my touches. I mean, I probably signed that deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I'm always in favor of guys. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great pause.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that's a good reason.
Man, this is gonna be a rough day, clearly.
No, man, it's gonna be a good day. It was gonna be a good day. And to that point, man, I'm always in favor too. Like, I'm still more old school when I'm watching sports. I'm more in favor of guys playing their career at one place, So how does it happen much anymore? No, not really. But I still like to see it, and I like to at least see you sign the first deal and give the whole thing a shot. So
yeah, but anybody watching this, they're going to see that none of us have hair, and they're like, "Yeah, we get it. You're old."
No, we all have hair, and it's just by choice. That's what we're going to tell everyone. It was a prerequisite to come on the show. Both told us.
Must be bald.
I swear I had hair last night.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. It's so of course now we still have CeeDee Lamb looking to get paid. Obviously, that's probably not happening with the Cowboys, but he's still got a contract he's got to figure out. You got Chase needs to get a contract figure out. And of course, it's either yesterday or the day before, Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
wants to restructure and get a new deal. And that makes a lot of sense because he has Philip Rivers amounts of kids, and but the more expensive version where they're all different baby mamas.
Wow. Good job, Tyreek. And then he waited right after Waddle got his to go, oh, hey, by the way, y'all giving out money? And you still haven't signed Tua. Can I slide right in here and get something at the same time? So perfect timing. And then we've already talked at length, I guess, about the Cowboys on other shows, but how bad are you fumbling this bag to where, like, if you're not going to keep Dak, you should have just went ahead and locked up CD, but like, because every contract before him just makes it worse for you. So, I mean, do something. At some point, do something. Give somebody something if you're trying to keep any of them.
Yes. Well, and he's forcing their hand because CD is not at the mandatory OTAs that started, today?
Right.
Or no, for the Cowboys yesterday. And so if you don't come to the voluntary, doesn't matter, right? Missing the mandatory, now there's fines involved, right? So he's leaning on him in a big way because now this goes into the holdout scenario.
Right.
So how long, if you're the Cowboys, are you going to entertain that?
Well, I was going to say, I did read a little something yesterday where, McCarthy was saying that they have been in constant, like CD's been very communicative with the team. So they've been in constant communication. They have been we are going to work things out, but at least he hasn't like stepped away from the team where he's just, I'm not going to talk to you until you give me my money. It's more like, he's still having the conversations. He's still being, involved behind the scenes. So at least he's showing up in that respect.
I always think of that though when people say that. Like I just see CeeDee Lamb like every morning they call him and he goes, "Show me the money," and then hangs up. They're like, "Yeah, we talked to CD today. We had a really good conversation. We know we understand his stance." I mean,
that's right. I want the Quan.
Well, we were joking the other day. I could see Jerry will just give him the same contract as Jefferson, but one penny more. So that, he can then brag, I have the highest paid receiver in this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it'll be in total dollars, but less guaranteed.
Yep.
So then are you really?
Tell them they can argue it later on.
Very true. Very true. But I think they'll sign him. They're going to get it. He's going to get his money. They're going to keep him. I think, that's where they want to go. Like I said, the league's all about explosive plays, big pass plays. You need a wide receiver, at that point who can provide that. So I think the team realizes, we might be able to get a better quarterback than Dak, or even a quarterback substantially, maybe cheaper, but just as good enough to get the ball in his hands. It's CD who needs to play, right? So.
My official prediction is they sign CD, and then next year they sign Sam Darnold after he gets out of Minnesota, and then he just keeps going around to whoever the highest paid wide receiver is and throws them the ball. That's how Sam ends his career.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, we're not talking about a rookie here, though. we're talking about CD. But, I mean, obviously, the Cowboys have a lot to work out. But so then, over this last week, also, NFL great Larry Allen passes away at 52. It's a little disconcerting seeing how young some of these guys are starting to pass away, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't been a one-off. Like there's definitely been a lot more of them. So I don't know, just kind of a scary thing, mostly because that's not that far off.
Yes, that age is right around the corner. Yeah, definitely. I mean, just sad to hear of. And like you said, the age always just jumps out first. Like what? And you hate all the other theories and stuff, but it is very disappointing to see.
Well,
disheartening, I should say, not disappointing.
Yeah, all those years and damage to the body over time, even if it's not, brain damage and stuff like that, the body still takes those hits. You never know what's going to happen there. So I also understand in a sense that's why these guys are looking to get paid because, they're probably not thinking I'm going to live to 70 or 80 and need all this, and word out my retirement in a sense, right? Keep their families good and happy and safe, protected because most likely, the road is shorter.
Yeah. No, I mean they do actually say I forget what doctor it was offhand, but your average athlete, if you average the ages out, die in their late 50s, which crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it feels like in football, and I'm, just off top, it just feels like in football that's more true than most of the other sports.
Yeah.
Maybe even combined at times. So, I mean, the damage they put on, and the wear and tear on their bodies is just way more than like I can imagine, And I think we always look at the big hits and think, oh, is that what did it? No, it's like all the average hits throughout a game and the linemen falling on you after a 2-yard gain. And you're like, oh, I want a big hit. Yeah, I don't know. Most of y'all don't like if your kids jump on you, much less a full-grown man.
Yeah.
So it's just,
No, that's definitely the death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing, right? Because I mean, when I think back to my playing days, most of my injuries were in practice.
Right.
Right. Like most of my stuff didn't come during a game. It was you moved wrong in practice or something. You were doing Oklahoma drills. That's how I cracked a kneecap. I caught a helmet to the side of the knee.
Yeah.
I tore a tendon in my thumb during practice, catching a routine like tip drill.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, really? Like, like, let me do it in a game so I have a cool story.
right. Oh yeah, when I caught that touchdown pass, tore tendon,
Yeah,
right in
right.
the game,
Like, awesome. Let's do that. Instead, it's like, oh yeah, I moved wrong and I missed 4 games because I had tweaked something. You're like, really?
Yeah.
Like, cool.
No.
So there's been a lot of talk about Deion. Obviously, the Buffaloes weren't exactly amazing last year, right? But the conversation is he achieving what it is they wanted him to? And weirdly, I think he has already, right? They were a 1-win team. Obviously, a 4-win team isn't anything to write home about, but that's a 400% upgrade from where they were, right? They have more continuity, and more than anything, they brought relevance to the program, right? Because how much Colorado Buffalo football did we talk about prior to this? None, right? Like, we forgot they had a football team.
Very true. I didn't even pay attention or know that they really truly existed until Deion.
Yeah, like they were essentially like Temple or Tulane, or like they technically have a team, but they get boat raced by everybody. Sorry to those schools for catching strays. My bad. But I also didn't lie. So
yeah. Well, I think there's a very real argument. Does Colorado without Deion get invited to the Big Ten, especially as early as they did with the rest of that group?
Oh, no way.
Like I said, there was no relevance at all. And anybody that says they used to be a powerhouse, you're like in the 90s, right? You realize that's not like yesterday, So I said that as soon as they got hired and all the stuff came in and the Big Ten, because they were one of the first groups, I guess, of like, all right, we're going to steal somebody from the Pac-12 while it still has a chance to be the Pac-12.
Yep.
I mean, that's just a no-brainer. So people are looking at the on the field and like, this is way more than the on the field results. Now, 2 years from now, we'd be talking about, hey, is it still successful if he's like only at 6 wins by that point? But for right now, that hire was a no-brainer, and it really kind of saved the program for them.
Oh, no question.
Oh, yeah. Helps with recruiting too, right? Because now they got somebody. They're like, oh, I would like to play for Deion, or I'd like to, he can help me. You've got somebody who's an NFL star in his past, so that's a draw. So I think that just alone in the recruiting, that's going to help them step up.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're the conference, of course you're going to bring him in, right? He's a polarizing figure, and the cameras follow him. And at the end of the day, it's the entertainment business, right? Like that's what all of this is.
Yeah.
Like, it's a sport, sure, but TV ratings is what moved this thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's ad sales, all of that. And if Deion brings anything, it's that. It's cameras all the time, so that helps negotiate that TV deal, right? When you're like, oh yeah, we got Deion and all of the craziness that comes with this dude. TV stations are like, let's go.
Yeah. And especially with the and I don't know if I said Big 10, I meant Big 12 if I said it. I can't remember. I'm getting old, and that was like 2 minutes ago. You also have lost your two biggest brands, so you need like a draw in the league. So Dion, with that's probably a no-brainer for them as well. Like, all right, look, until we kind of establish what this new league is, every Colorado game is going to be on TV. You'll come and watch the show. You'll come and watch the circus, and we'll figure it out over this next year how we're going to hype up some other people instead. In case this fails. But for right now, yeah, we'll ride this Colorado. You'll wonder why a 1-5 Colorado team is on TV every week, and we're still going to trot it out there. So
yeah. No, it's funny because last year, they start off, they beat the defending champs, right? Which didn't mean anything because that team was stripped. Right. The fact that people were losing their minds and they're like, oh, they're going to go on and win a national title was craziness. But they did start well, right? They started 3-1, something like that.
Yes.
And but they hadn't beat anybody. Right? They weren't playing good schools. Like you're supposed to beat bad teams.
Yeah. Like Colorado State, that was like a huge game for them, but Colorado State's not like even in their league. So it was stuff like that.
Well, and it was a battle. But that's also a like rivalry type game. So those are always kind of unique anyway. But because realistically, when you think of like Michigan State, Michigan should win that going away every time, but they don't. Right. So but yeah, I mean they start 3-1. People start putting expectations that are wildly unrealistic. Right now, for people like us that talk about it, it was an interesting storyline, right? Because you're like, oh, I mean, what could they do? But as soon as you saw them play good teams, you saw that their defense was suspect and they had no run game. You're just like, yeah, that's not going to win you a lot of games against teams that play football.
Yeah. There's the Colorado we know.
Yeah,
exactly.
And not even like no defense. It was like no line whatsoever. So it was affecting them on both sides. And it only got worse as the season went along. But like you said, TCU being, the national runner-up just made the hype train way too much. Like I have a Georgia fan. I saw him on their radio last night. Colorado fans were chirping at him talking about the playoffs. And I was like, oh, calm down. Georgia is not the team that you want to go talk trash to right now. Let's okay, you beat TCU, that's nice. But let's actually see what the season is going to be like. And the wheels kind of fell off towards the end, as you might have expected,
Well, that's the concern coming into this year, right? Is they've done a lot of this and they've got a lot of transfers yet again, right? Mm-hmm. Having a lot of transfers the first year makes sense, right? Because you're a 1-11 team. Your best opportunity to blow everything up and start over is the first year as a coach, right? Like you have the most latitude to do whatever it is you want to do. They have almost as many transfers this year as they did that year.
Yeah.
That's worrisome.
Yeah. And then like the fact, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, it's almost like they're a showcase team. You come in, spend a year, showcase yourself. And then if you're good, you can actually go somewhere and transfer out, to a team that's actually going to be performing a lot better and give you better opportunity. But, you didn't get on just yet, but it's our practice squad for actual teams.
Yeah. And it's concerning now too, like along with that, the guys that are leaving now aren't just leaving, they're chirping on the way out. It's like you see a lot of the numbers. I mean, Alabama and Georgia lose a lot of transfers every year. And you might hear a couple like, oh, I just wanted to go somewhere. You'll hear kind of under the radar little chirps. This was full on, I hated what was going on there. From guys that you specifically recruited or specifically brought in, that's to me even worse. Like I went out to go get this guy, and this guy's like, I hated it there.
Well, it's funny because, when you're thinking of places like Georgia and Alabama and stuff like that, and if you do hear chirping on the way out, it's typically like, I left because I want to play.
Right.
Like I'm third on the depth chart. I'm not going to get my opportunity. Right. I'm going to go somewhere. And fair enough. Right. Like if you're buried in a depth chart and you're not even going to get the opportunity to try and win that job. Yeah, fair enough. You can transfer portal that. I'm not even mad at that really. But if you are chirping on the, yeah, this place is for clicks and likes. And, realistically from the outside, it kind of looks like that. Right. So if that's the feel from inside the building. That's not great. I think what worries me the most about the guys chirping on the way out are the way that the guys that are still there also chirp.
Yes.
And the fact that Dion doubles down on it.
Yes.
Like that's what makes you think that the culture there is not awesome. Right. Because one of the guys that left, he was a corner or safety 5-star recruit.
Cormani
right?
Jackson.
Yeah. Right. And he chirped on his way out. And then Shedeur was like, oh, yeah, I don't even know who that dude was. Like, must have been mid. It's like, what are you talking about? He was a starter for your team. Like, what are we talking about right now? You know exactly who this dude was.
Yeah.
Like, I would bet money he picked you off in practice. So, but then, Dion gets involved in it as well. So there has to be some major culture issues. Now, as far as recruiting talent, no question. Like if I'm a DB, I'd at least try it, right? Because he's one of the most decorated DBs in the league's ever had. So you want to put yourself in a position to learn, sure. But if you get there and you realize you're not, yeah, you keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Have they been? I haven't read too much about what they've been saying specifically, but has there been a lot of comments about Dion as a coach himself? Like, I just don't want to play for him.
You don't get that many.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah. So I made this point last year because somebody was asking about the Dion effect. And I said, it's been great for Colorado, what he brings to the table from the outside. I said, I still have no idea how he is as a coach. He's flipped over his staff, I think, just as much as he has his players. And I really don't know. You don't see a lot of games where there's in-game adjustment. They're playing against Stanford. They're getting killed by the same guy over. It's just like I don't know as much about his in-game as I do his outside. So to your specific question, nobody really talks about that. They talk about kind of all the other stuff. But I want to say they also lost like 3 or 4 DBs this year as they were bringing in like 3 or 4 more DBs. So it's like if that's the specific position that you're going there for, and there's that turnover there. So what, what I mean? It just kind of, you're reading into a lot, but what you're reading into is probably there's some truth to it, And to that specific example also, I think if somebody left Georgia and they were like, Kirby Smart, this, I guarantee you Kirby Smart would go out there and say, I'm only concerned about the players that are on the team and I wish that guy well. And I guarantee that would be the end of it versus blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, let's go back at him and let my son go back at him. It's just a bad look.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do kind of agree with you here, Travis. I think some of it also is hidden by the fact that he has the turnover. So you don't even really know if he's a great coach because, to Herb's point here is it's been a lot of staff turnover, a lot of player turnover. So when things do seem to fall apart, he kind of sidesteps some of that blame because they're like, it's a bunch of new pieces and whatever. Now that'll only play for a couple of years. And then people look at it as like, why can't you keep a team together? Right. So, yeah, I mean, as it sits right now, he dodges a lot of that blame, but the longer he's there, the more we'll find out how he is as a coach, because if he continues to have turnover like this, then it is a culture and coaching issue.
Yeah. Then he becomes the common denominator in the issue.
Correct.
Exactly. Right.
But I'm saying that, like, to the original going back, he did have a great improvement from year 1 to year 2. And I know people say 4 games, but when you're on 1, that was terrible. If he reaches a bowl this year, gets to that 6 mark, especially with the way the Big 12 is, to me, that's another achievement. And then, he's on the upward swing. If he stays stagnant, he doesn't make a bowl this year or even goes backwards, then you'll kind of see. So it's like you hate it to be year 2, and this is already a pivotal year, but this feels like a really big year already for Colorado with all the news surrounding them.
So then the question becomes, just because it's always fun to kind of look at, the Cowboys making the wrong decision all the time, is say he's not great, right? He's better, but he's not great. Colorado's like, maybe this isn't it. Does it? Him and his kid, do they go to the Cowboys and just burn that thing to the ground?
I don't know if the building is big enough for Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders' egos in the same place.
Oh,
I would watch those games though.
Every single one.
Absolutely.
I would watch every podcast. I would watch every press conference.
Yep.
Like, oh, they lost 34-0. Oh yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, that would be the. I will bring the Rubbermaid trash can size popcorn for that show.
This is going to be a great show. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, and so this is true. Like it's going to be 2 to 3 years down the line. That's where it is. We're going to know kind of what Deion is as a coach. Coach Prime. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen anything that I like yet, but again, a lot of it can be discounted by the fact that it's been moving staff and rotating players. So at some point they got to figure out how to keep players in the building. Yeah.
That aren't like related to him or like his best buds. That's
exactly.
That's for sure.
Well, I would ask to maybe like, do you think, like you're saying, if he makes it to a bowl game, he's starting to show this improvement. Do you think at some point he jumps ship and tries to go to another team and coach? Like, do you think this is he's working towards opportunities to maybe, this is my showcase myself as a coach. I can start here and then, work my way up and jumping ship to other teams, as we're seeing even coaches doing this year.
I mean, I think yes, right? Whether he moves on to the NFL or he stays within the college ranks. I mean, generally, it's like any other job, right? Like you're trying, whatever job you're in, you're auditioning for your next one, right? Because loyalty within any kind of job at this point is really not a thing, right? The companies don't show any to you, so they really shouldn't expect any from you either.
Yeah.
But, at this point, do I think he's going to go right from Colorado to the NFL? Probably not. Right.
I agree.
His next stop will probably still be at the college ranks, but it'll be at a better school, especially if he can get Colorado into the playoff, right? Yeah. If he can find his way in the playoff, that is a huge win for Deion. Yeah. And you have to give that to coaching, right? Because if you're going to take a one-win team and over the course of 2 to 3 years, you can get them from a one-win team to a viable playoff team, the speculation's out. Like you've been able to watch what he could do as far as recruiting, bringing people in, and of course, how it is he's getting them to perform on the field, which is everything you ask of a coach. Now, maybe you like the flash that he has or you don't, doesn't matter, right? Because results is what gets you paid and gives you opportunities.
Yep. And that's ever since Travis posted the quote, I've been looking at him trying to figure out how he was going to answer that, because it's like, where do you go from here? First off, if the Big Ten and SEC don't completely take over, there's a great opportunity in the Big 12 for a path to the title, to the playoff every year, just by, handling the teams that are already there. You don't really have like a real benchmark team there. And then it's like you said, if he leaves Colorado, let's say, he gets 9-win season 2 years from now, 10-win season, he's got him on a good path. Where do you go? Like what contender is realistically firing somebody that you see it as a better chance? Are you going to jump to an SEC team? Like is an LSU coming open or a Texas? Like it doesn't seem like those would be the places, So I think unless, like I said, those two leagues completely take over, Colorado's actually in a great spot in the Big 12, the way it situates, and with those guaranteed playoff berths. So, but that's the realistic person speaking. I have no idea what's going on his head.
To Travis's point here, it would be easier to recruit somewhere else. There's no way he's going to Florida State. I understand that's where he went, but you also have to know that he got slighted when he tried to work there before, and if we know anything about Deion, is he holds a grudge a little bit. So he would go somewhere just so that he could beat them every year if he had the opportunity. So So I don't think it would be Florida State, but I do think he would go to a bigger school if he can get these guys somewhere, and he can go somewhere that has access to better NIL money, more opportunities, better facilities, easier to recruit, like all of those things. Sure. Why wouldn't you do that? Right. Because you're also going to make more money as the coach.
Yep. It's just interesting where that opportunity opens up. And then, like, if FSU, I know that's off the table, but if they ended up in the SEC, like, is that better for him money wise, but worse for him getting beat up? Why? You know what I mean? It's just like there's so many intangibles from 2 years from now when we're thinking he might be ready to jump ship. And then if somebody is in a lesser position than Colorado, do you jump that if you think, like with Bo saying, they've got better resources? You know what I mean? It's just like, here's a million things in the air we're going to throw up and see which one of them matters to you, Dion.
So, I mean, you would have to, right? Because unless somebody's retiring, wherever you're going is going to be a team that is trying to get back on track, right? Or firing a coach. So outside of someone retiring where you can step in and be like, oh, thanks for the toys. Otherwise, yeah, you're going there to rebuild a program, or at least build it back up, right? Like it's probably not going to be a 1-win team, but if you're going to a school that has been kind of middle of the road and they want to take that next jump, you're not playing with a lot of great options, right? Like you've probably got one or two dudes that are dudes, and then everybody else, right? But at the same time, you're Dion. So you're going to be able to bring those recruits. Plus, you would have just turned another school around, right? So that would be 2 stops in a row where you went from schools that were underperforming and brought them up. So if you go to another school that is truly a power school, then yeah, I mean, I think regardless of where it is, I think, you get paid and you have more success because you just have more options.
Yeah.
True.
All that to say is we'll definitely be watching the next couple of years to see what happens in Colorado.
Yeah, well, and it's good for us whether he's good or bad.
Right.
Like if he's bad, it runs these shows too, because you're just like, what is going on? Yep. Like I can already see the New York Times headline of "What's wrong in Colorado?"
Yep.
Beyond dumpster fire or something.
Exactly, right?
Yep. To that point, man.
With Dion.
Yep. Well, we like on our show, because we're SEC, we only do game by game breakdowns for the SEC. There are the other conferences we just handle. Well, one of our guys, Big Mike, is actually going to do a game by game breakdown for Colorado to start the year. That's how much interest they're already garnered. He was huge on the Dion and Colorado bandwagon last year, and then in the middle of the year he was just
if he was doing that last year, he really only had to do the first 3 games.
Yeah.
And then he could have just like hit repeat, be like, yeah, they don't run the ball and they don't play defense. Basically, it's a track meet. And if they can hang with you, they can win. And if they can't, it's over early.
Yep. Yep. Last year was kind of so Shooter was just getting beat up all last year. I was like, he's definitely not making it through this year with the way it was going. Especially
with this.
Yeah.
Like, how are you talking to dudes that play on the other side of the ball from you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
with no line.
Exactly, right? Like you're going to get murdered back there.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was wild when, their guy left and they're like, oh, he was mid, whatever. It's like, that guy is like, hey, give me a safety blitz and I'm going to go blast this dude. I'll make the penalty count.
Yes.
Don't even care. I'll take the 15-yarder. It's cool. I'm going to lead with my helmet. I mean, there's only so much bulletin board material you can put out there before other teams are like, you know what? Maybe this play's going to get a little dirty today.
Agreed.
And if you've ever been on a football team, that's a thing.
Especially in a high profile position. Like, I mean, you have the ball like every play, somebody, I didn't realize he'd already handed it off when I smacked him on, I mean, it just,
exactly.
It doesn't make sense to me.
All of a sudden, everybody is out there as a Sioux, right? Like, you didn't have to play dirty, but gonna.
Yeah.
Very true.
All right, so let's do our little station break here. This show brought to you by True Fusion Gym. They have a new location in University Village here in Western Washington, added to their trio of gyms, one in Bellevue and one in Ballard. If you hit the QR code right here on the screen, you can end up with a free 5-day pass at any of the 3 locations. This is for a limited time, so be sure to take advantage of it. And so, again, it's good at the Ballard, Bellevue, and University Village locations. Sign up today. Find your edge at True Fusion Gym. All right. So, yeah, let's see, where was it? So, Colts safety Daniel Scott tears his Achilles. Brutal for this kid because last year, his rookie season, he missed because of an ACL. So this guy just cannot get on the field, which is too bad because he's a talented kid. Exactly the same as CJ's. Yeah, I mean,
talk about what the Aaron Rodgers stuff with CJ Stroud.
Yeah, kind of. So you know what? Yeah, let's actually talk about that because it's hilarious. So CJ Stroud, he said some interesting things, but the one that I thought was hilarious is he was asked if he wanted whose career he liked better, whether it was Eli Manning or Aaron Rodgers. And he said Eli Manning. Now, on its face, I even kind of get it because 2 rings, right? Championships are what it is. I personally wouldn't want that. If Aaron didn't have a ring, right? If it was Dan Marino, then I could actually kind of go that way. I could wrap my head around it a little bit more because at the end of the day, that's what you play for, is to win it all, right? But Rodgers has one. So then are you trying to be the most mid dude ever and win a couple? Right? Like you're the Trent Dilfers of the world? Or are you trying to be one of the best to ever do it and you still got one? Right? It's not like you'd never got closed the deal, right? Because again, if it was Marino.
He's trying to make Raj mad by bringing up Marino, by the way. That's my brother. My brother's a big Dolphins fan. So that's half of our podcast, the Raj that you see up there on the Raj and Herb. So
Hey,
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm sure he's not going to love this. Although, again, Marino was a stud, but at the end of the day, you're playing for rings, right? So, but the difference between 1 and 2 and 0 and 1 is a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like from a number standpoint, it's not, but it means you never got it done. And so that's something that I don't know. But for me, I would take Rodgers, right? Because you got 4 MVPs. You're viewed as one of the most successful guys within the league, right? When you look at Eli, outside of the 2 Super Bowl runs, I don't think they won a playoff game, right? He was never, I don't even know if he ever got an MVP vote, right? Yeah. So it's not like he was ever considered the best in the league. Most of the time, he wasn't the best in his own conference.
So the other part of the show that's missing is Mr. U, and he's a Giants fan. So now Bo's going after every Rob, whatever you love, Rob is next. So just
Oh man,
we're on the same page as Hawks fans, so we're okay there.
Okay.
I wish you was here because he'd be so mad.
He would. He would. I'd have to just sit back and pretend like I was really thirsty. Like, it gets interesting. So,
it's an interesting comparison because again, he has won one. I could wrap my head around it if he hadn't won one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, 1 in 18 years or something. How long has he been playing now?
Oh, forever. Yeah.
Right. And only one. I mean, for me, I kind of like the Eli thing. You know, I would like to have two, but also I think for me, it's more about I would like to have been that team. You know, being on that team that shut down Tom Brady's Super Bowl on that miracle, you know, undefeated regular season, but they couldn't, you know, but we stopped them from the Super Bowl. So there was that bragging rights that we got to take away. Like, to me, that is just as important and something that I'd be excited about. Probably the best story I'd probably be telling about my career, right? You know, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, I don't know. I don't love Eli's career. And to be fair, Eli also played forever and got two. So it's not like it was like, oh, he played for 10 years and he got two. It was, I mean, he played for 20 years also.
Yeah.
So
we had that debate on one of our first spaces, you know, about surefire Hall of Fames, and it really came down to 2 rings. Because I asked Buddy at work, who not involved in any of it. He goes, he got 2 rings, and that's all you can say. And I feel like his whole candidacy hinges on how important were those 2 rings to you or not. Because, like, no offense to him, and 2 rings is great, and he had great runs, but I don't remember anything else notable outside those 2 runs. So that's
because he was largely 8-8 the rest of the time,
right?
Like, he really didn't have great runs. He wasn't spectacular. He had nice pieces, had fantastic defense, right? Yeah. Absolutely amazing defense. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he was a very middle of the road quarterback. So the fact that he played forever gives him the stats where he has a real shot to get in. If he doesn't win those 2 Super Bowls, we're not even having this discussion, right? Like, he wins those 2, specifically the one against the undefeated.
And that's what I was going to bring up. That's the one
that gets him in.
Yeah.
Even if he only won 1, that's the one that gets him in.
Yeah.
Right? Because Hall of Fame is a voting game.
Yeah.
And everybody likes that game. Everybody, you know, because one, he threw some of the best footballs possible during that game, right? Like, there were a couple of throws that he completed that the window was the size of the football, and he threaded that needle, right? Like, you can't hate on the way he played those games. The second one, obviously, there's a catch on a helmet that is fantastic. That has very little to do with Eli, other than the fact that he, you know, evaded a lot of people before chucking that ball. So, I mean, you know, he was impressive in parts of that also. But at the end of the day, that was one of the luckiest catches I think I've ever seen. So, you know,
right? You know,
I mean, right? Yeah, I mean,
and wasn't that his last catch ever too? So, like, he did that and said, "I'm calling it a career." Like,
I mean, how do you go up from that? Right?
They throw him another one. He's like, "Nah."
I mean, realistically, OBJ's last catch as a productive receiver was the one-handed in a loss. Yeah. Ever since then, he's been a 400-yard-a-year receiver. Right. So,
wasn't that also the year though where I think they started off horrible, and then they went on like a 10-win run. They snuck in as a wild card, and then pushed through the playoffs to win that Super Bowl. But like, I think like that wasn't a year where they were even starting off as a dominant team. They weren't considered a dominant team, and then just kind of
they came in as a wild card.
You know, yeah, but I mean, I think they had to win like 10.
No, I think he's right. Yeah, because when they're like some big press conference about it, like in the middle of the year, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to be better" or some mess like that. I think that's what he's.
Oh, yeah.
To get through there, so no.
Yeah, and Travis, you're right. The Hall of Good. That is, it's not even the Hall of Great when we're talking about Eli. Like, there's nothing impressive about his career, outside of a couple of playoff runs and. You know, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, though, right? Like, if you can be good enough to get in, you got to win 4 games.
Yeah,
like that's it. Yep. Like the whole year comes down to the last 4 games. As long as you can get in the mix, can't be too mad at it.
Yeah, like look at Green Bay last year, how close they were coming to actually moving another level up. You know, past San Francisco. Then you just never know what's going to happen. And to be fair, like I said, on the space that we're going, I think I was the only questioning of Eli. Everyone else that was on there and chiming in was all like, yeah, he's definitely getting in. So it's like, am I just looking at it wrong? I don't know.
No. So the problem is you're looking at it as two things can't be true because he's going to get in, but he's mid and probably shouldn't. It's because I look at it as, he shouldn't really get in, right? Like I would be more apt to throw Phillip Rivers in than Eli. But at the same time, he wins 2 rings. It's a voting contest. So the stats don't always matter. The fact that T.O. wasn't a first ballot lets you know that stats don't matter because he is second to Jerry Rice in just about every category, right? Okay. So clearly stats aren't the deciding factor. And because the feel-good story is they took down the juggernaut of the Patriots, like he was going to get in if he had half the stats that he has because they're like, oh, this dude's getting in, undefeated team. They shut that down, So 2 things can be true there is, should he get in? Yeah, probably not. Is he going to? Absolutely.
I'm sending this clip to Mr. U, by the way, after the show. I'm cutting out like the last 10 minutes and just sending it to him.
You're going to piece it together where he's like, he shouldn't get in and he's not.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Monday's show will be very interesting.
How come Bo isn't sitting in the same spot when he said those things? Yeah, no, it's and this, Travis, is absolutely true. CJ, during that conversation, and of course, this is the part that we were talking about last night, is, talking about how poorly defenses were playing against him. And that is a good way to get beat up in this league. Yeah. Similar to what we were talking about with Shedeur, is you put out bulletin board material. These guys don't need a lot to get that little extra up. So if you're out there putting out, statements where they feel slighted, they're going to circle you on their schedule and they're going to be ready for it and be like, okay, I'm going to watch extra tape because I want to see the trainer help you off the field. So, when it comes to stuff like this, especially if you're going to talk about defenses, they're the guys that are lining up against you, man. Like all of a sudden 60 minutes of football is a long time if the dudes on the other side are really gunning for you.
They would hate me if I was a quarterback because every one of my interviews would be like, oh, the defense are about to defend. Yeah, they're a top 10 defense. And man, I just got a lot of respect for them. And that'd be the quote every single game. Like, really, they're ranked 29th in the league. Well,
we're
top 10 and
him again. I don't want to
on the next week. Yeah, no, I got you.
Well, we'll see how CJ does too when he has the Diggs personality in the house and how that might even change his gameplay and how things are going to affect where they're at, because you're going to now have this guy coming in who wants the ball all the time. You're going to take away from Nico, Tank. That was one of his big things last year too, is being able to spread that ball around. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to have a guy who's like, I don't want you to spread it around. I want it all. And how is he going to handle that big personality on the other end? I think that's going to be a showcase too as well. To see, how he steps into that role.
Yep.
Diggs is going to be the most team-friendly guy he can be because they restructured the deal to be a 1-year deal, right? So this is a contract year for him, right? So he's going to be as nice as he can be this year. Now, if somebody pays him again, who knows? We've seen how that goes. But for this year, he's going to want his touches, of course, but he's going to be that team guy because he wants some team to pick him up.
Right. True. Yeah. And that's my favorite. All the quotes coming out of camp is all positive. I'm like, yeah, nothing's even happened yet. So of course you guys like, oh, this is where I want to be. This is great. See, that would be me. I would find the one stat that they were top 10 in. I'd be like, yeah, they're top 10 in takeaways within the first 5 minutes of the second quarter on a sunny day. So we really got to protect the football out there today.
PFF on the first play of the second half. Best team in the league.
Yes.
Oh, man, that is hilarious. Well, that does get us to the top of the hour. Be sure to let everybody know where they can find you. I guess.
You can find me as a special guest star on Bo's show whenever he needs me or wants me.
On Fridays. On Fridays.
No, Fridays on Hawk Talk. Yes,
absolutely.
it's been a great show. It's been a great opportunity to join that. So yeah, come catch us on Fridays. Hawk Talk for sure.
And you see our Twitter handle there, Raj Herb, one half of the Herb and Raj podcast, Herb Raj podcast on YouTube. And then every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central, you can see our live show there.
And of course, if you're watching us here on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. And of course, you know how to find me because you're watching my show. So appreciate everybody tuning in today. Thanks, Rob, for coming in.
Yeah,
And other than that, we will see y'all next week.
All right.